all so much for coming. Happy Wednesday. I'm excited to introduce you to Interim President Michael Smith. Here you go. Thank you so much.
Hey, welcome everyone, and thanks so much for coming today. I'm so glad that we can take some time and spend some time together here in person. And that's the crux of the thing, spending time together in person. You really don't get the sense of a person or know the person when you're looking at them on a screen. So we're trying to get people together so as a university we really get to know people in person. You're all so important for us here at the university, what you're doing, and trying to achieve our objectives at this university. I know that, we had a recent announcement this week, and I know that, we're dealing with the program array, and you will get some feedback on that, but we try to be as fair and equitable as possible when we look at the program array, and also, trying to make sure that we put ourselves on a fiscal track where we can be sustainable into the future. I look forward to seeing you on the various campuses for my next 20 some odd days that I'm here. I gotta tell you, I am left with such deep gratitude to all of you for each of the various things that you do on this campus. The work ethic, the things that you do, I've just been so impressed in the 6 months that I've been here. And I'll talk about, so that I don't get misty into the end here. I'll talk about that in just a minute. We have a special day planned today for you with an inspiring guest speaker, as well as really nice lunch. And by the way, a pretty darn good continental breakfast and a special meal. I'd like to thank Lori Phillips, and Michelle Graham, and Leo Richardson, and Sylvia Huang for the work that they put into this celebration. All right, let's give them all. And let's not forget our facilities crew for helping set up today's event as well. Before I introduce our keynote speaker, I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping for the day. Please see the agenda posted by check-in. Take a picture so you have it throughout the day. Also, days of all days, today at 2:20, the Federal Emergency Management Association and the Federal Communications Commission are testing a nationwide emergency alert system. So all your cell phones, radios, and television will broadcast the test audio. Please do not be alarmed when this happens. We are not under attack. So that should happen at 2:20. I also want to just take a moment to say, some of you I will see again, some of you I will not, because at the end of the month, as I mentioned earlier, I will be leaving here. This has been an incredible 6 months. I just have thoroughly loved working with all of you and thoroughly loved this job. Whoever succeeds me, David's coming to succeed me, has a tremendous advantage because of you. And I really appreciate everything that you've done for this university, everything that you've done for me. I wish I could stay longer, but I can't. There comes a point, you're all too young, but there comes a point in your life where you sort of see the sunset off into the horizon. You know that sun's going down, and there's a lot of things you want to do before that daylight is gone. And so that's the metaphor that I use in terms of looking ahead. There's a lot of things I want to do. I hope I have a lot of time left. I'm not going anywhere. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that I get a lot of things done before that sun goes down. So I really thank all of you for what you've done, for the help you've given me, in the 6 months. We've done an incredible amount of work. Just think about it. We went through accreditation, we launched a new university, we're looking at how we sustain our, we have fiscal stability into our future. And along the way, we've been doing a pretty good job helping students be educated and get them to life at this university and help them through life at this university. So now, I'd like to introduce Jon Hammond. He has over a decade of leadership and listen, I've got a word here that I'm stumbling over. But he's got a decade of leadership experience. God, why do I put words in things I stumble through his work at Hosmer Point, coaching at Middlebury College women's soccer goalkeepers, and leading private events where he blends pay and conversation. Play, not pay. Play and conversation. Give me another coffee. Where he blends play and conversation to strengthen ties among groups. He is also a Vermont State University alum, having graduated. By the way, they still are the Badgers, just so you know. So let's give a warm welcome to Jon.
Good morning. How is everyone? I've had a chance to meet a bunch of you as you came in. Who was the one with the awesome smile? Where are you? Yes. How often do you greet someone in the morning and say, welcome, and he's had this huge smile? And then you get others that are just really solemn, right? So thank you. What's your name? Kate, thank you. I love getting that response back and the smile. So as Mike said, my name is Jon Hammond. I am a 1994 JSC grad. I am honored, absolutely honored and excited to be here today. It was never, I'll be brutally honest, it was never anything that I expected to be doing on October 4th. Until 3.5 weeks ago, I get this magical text from my good friend Sean Williams, who I met 7 or 8 years ago, when he would bring up his CAs from Castleton University to my summer camp that I started 13 years ago now. And so anyway, and then he put me in touch with Lori and had a wonderful conversation with Lori and her staff. And I'm here, which is amazing to think. I never thought I would step foot on Vermont Technical College, get VTC here, which I grew up knowing about. And then last night I had a FaceTime with my boys, who are now 23 and 21, young men. And I said, boys, what do I wear to this event? Like, I'm a keynote address speaker. And I'm also a facilitator. I'm also play. I was a physical educator for 13 years, so I just love playing. I get paid to play, actually, as a camp director as well. And they say, Pops, they call me now. It's no more daddy or dad. It's Pops as you get older. Say, Pops, just like a dad. Just be you. And so that's who I am. This is who I am, working stocks. It's going to be 80 degrees. I'm wearing my shorts, and we're going to play today. So when I was speaking to Lori about what, what's going on with, I've been in Vermont since 1990. I have never been a Vermont. I'm a Flatlander transplant from Massachusetts, but I've been here for many, many years. And when we discussed, like, what do you need? What are you looking for? And she said, talk about change. Talk about change and what you're going through. So I'm aware of everything. I was the first one when I heard that Johnson State College was now called NVU Johnson. And I got that little pit in my stomach. I said, God, it's not the same anymore, right? Until I stepped foot on campus and was a guest speaker at one of their classes. And I said, it's not changed. It's the same thing, right? And so we're going to talk a lot about what the core of a community and the culture is, which from 1990, when I first stepped foot there, to now, if you'd spend time to look deep into what the culture of your VTSU is, it's probably nothing different. The core is probably still the same. The people are still the same. Students are still the same. You still have your 18 and 19-year-olds that are still there. So when we were talking about embracing change and everything that comes through that, I said, I've changed a lot in my lifetime, in my 51 years. No greater than this past winter. About a year and a half ago, I went through some major life changes, from relationship to job to becoming an empty nester parent. How many people are empty nester parents here? Yeah. When you feel like what is your purpose now, right? And so, about a year and a half ago, I made this crazy decision, and I'm never going to look back at it and say that was a mistake. But I sold my truck, I bought a camper van, and said, circle November 29th, which was after the Middlebury College season, and I said, I'm heading, I'm going. I had no idea where I was going. A lot of people dream when they retire, say, I'm going to travel the country. I'm not retiring. I had to work on the road. I had to hire my staff. But I just decided to go. I had no idea why, but I went. And so when we were talking about what VTSU was going through and all that change, I said, oh my God, I feel everything that they're going through. Personally. Absolutely personally. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about that journey, because it is. I'm not, who's my technology person? I'm not, these ones, the first time I've ever held one of these in my life. Right. I can tell you this, as a summer camp director, I'm a storyteller. There's nothing, and Sean can attest to you, my favorite thing to do is sit around a campfire with 150 people with their eyes either on me or on the fire and just share stories. So ultimately, this keynote is storytelling, which was another hint my boys shared. Dad, just tell stories. And that's where my gut is, that's where my heart is, storyteller. So hopefully this will work. Smile, change can be a good thing. I'm not going to introduce you to this guy right now. He's at the end. But one of the wonderful man, and I'll just say I met him on my journey. When I took off on my trip, it was a journey. At first, it was a trip. I said I have to be back by April 5th because I have a conference to go to in Manchester, New Hampshire. What I didn't realize is that my trip was going to be a journey. And I didn't realize how impactful it was until the end. And on this journey, I met this wonderful man. So he's at the end. So just get a good look at him. And I'll get tears thinking about this guy. So anyway, how will you face the journey? And this is a cliche, right? Every journey begins with the first step. There's no difference of my journey when I put my van in drive and I started driving to where you all are. And I remember just being in Vermont, hearing about what VTSU was going through. And I remember speaking with Sean when they were coming up and saying, oh, there's rumors of us, Castleton University, no longer being Castleton University. They're joining. And all this turmoil that's happening. And speaking to Lori and saying, there is some anxiety there. And so I totally get it. I totally get it because I felt it personally. So my journey started with my first mile as I headed down south. Everybody has their first memory of when you started to hear about the change with VTSU. Okay, and everybody's different. Everybody have a little pit in their stomach. Maybe some people were excited, maybe some people were nervous, but we all have that first step. And the thing is here is change is going to happen whether you're ready for it or not. My wonderful mentor in life, who you're going to meet later on because of my time at Johnson, he said to me when I was a 21-year-old kid, he said, John, change is inevitable. You can't stop change from happening. It's how you act to change. It makes the difference and it defines who you are. And it's absolutely true. So, meet Alice. This is Alice. A 2022 Winnebago Stolus Pocket, 17 feet, 10 inches. This was home for me for 125 days. And I never thought what a comfort this little tin box would be for me. Whether I was in Austin, Texas, parallel parking this thing in the middle of Austin, Texas, or out in Sedona or a Big Bend in the middle of BLM land, Bureau of Land Management land, with a stars array. This was home for me for 125 days. And she's still, you'll see her, she's still parked here. She's my only vehicle right now. But I love her. And anyway, so she was what took me on my journey. I just wanted to look at this for a second. I see a lot of nods. Yeah. Look at this little place right here. This small one, I love this image because the small one is where we are, and small like my van was, right? I'm in this little capsule, and once I shut my doors and put my blinds on, I was like, oh, this is all good, this is my comfort zone. And I actually did that for the first month of my trip because I had no idea what I was doing. And I was really anxious, but I knew if I was in my van, I was okay. But I knew that I had to get out of there. I had to get out of my little comfort zone and get out there to where the magic happens. And this land our country is unbelievable. And I definitely got out of my comfort zone, for sure. But it's also where, how many people are educators here? And you all should raise your hands. You all, if you're working at an educational system, you're an educator. Whether you're in leadership, a coach, I'm a coach myself, I think coaches are all educators. You're not a coach, you're an educator, right? We teach. So we teach our students, we teach our employees, my staff, I have 30 staff every summer. I teach them, get out of your comfort zone. Find a way to get there because that's when the growth happens. And sometimes, honestly, that sucks. It's so difficult to get out of your comfort zone. And I did that for 50 years. I did that, 49 years. I did that my entire life. I did the thing that made sense. My mom was the one who said, God rest her soul, she was an unbelievable woman. She said, when I was 21 years old, when I graduated from college, and she said, Jonathan, because I was not a John to her, I was Jonathan, you need to get a job right away because you have bills to pay. You have to do the right thing. So what did I do? I got a job right out of college, up in the islands, right, where President Smith lives. And I was a 22-year-old physical educator for K-8 schools. And I put aside a trip around Europe. I wanted to do the Europe thing. She said, no, you have to do the right thing. Do the safe thing. And so I was tired of doing that. And so for once I said, you know what? I'm going to do this trip. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. And then the one thing that happened was about a week or so before I was supposed to take off on my trip, I started freaking out. I had spent all this money on a van. Well, first I said to my boys, I sat down with my boys, what do you think if Dad takes off for 4 months? And I'm not going to swear, but my older son Eli, who's at Champlain College, he said, Dad, F it, just go. Right? And so they called Dad's F it trip. And basically that was the mentality. And plus, then Oliver, who's at UNE over in Biddeford, Maine, he says, Dad, there's Venmo, we're good. Right? So they pushed me on this. So about a week to go, I started freaking out and so on. What if I spent all this money and what if I don't find all the answers that I want to find? It needed to be a soul-searching trip for me and find all the answers. So I quickly called my therapist, William, amazing guy, who's a Johnson grad, by the way. Yep. And sorry, plugging Johnson. And I said, William, I need to talk to you. And for the past 5 months, I had worked with him. I was in a real low about May of 2022, and he knew when my trip was coming up. And I said, William, I'm stressed out. I'm supposed to leave in a week. What if this is the biggest mistake in my life? And I don't mind sharing. I spent $80,000 on a van. I sold my truck. I have no idea what I'm doing. What if I don't find all my answers? And he swears as well. We swear a lot. He says, John, F it. Just don't ask the questions. Don't ask it. Because if they're there, they're going to come to you. Now, I understand as educators, we teach our students and we teach our employees, ask the questions if you need to find an answer. But ultimately, the answers are already out there for you to get through whatever you need to go through. To find, I know there's a big turmoil as far as classes programming. The answers are there, but what you're going to be teaching or what kind of programs are going to be offered. The answer's there. And sometimes you ask, and sometimes you just sit with experience life, and those answers are going to come to you. But you have to be open to that. It's not easy to do this. How many people consider them real type A personality people? Be honest. Thanks for your vulnerability. I appreciate it. I am exact opposite, right? When Lori, you're amazing. She said, John, how's today going to go? How's the compass game going to work? I said, Lori, It's okay. It's just going to flow, right? But that's who you are. You need to have everything in line, right, and organized. I live in organized chaos, which is fine, but I'm comfortable with that. So for me, I decided, you know what, just live, and you're going to find your answers. And at the end of the trip, I did. My final journal entry, I found all 5 of my answers. And those answers I'm going to share with you today, and they're going to actually relate to exactly what you're going through. So answer number 1, feel the feels. What did I say? When any guest speaker, 90% of the time they go to the right. So I'm sorry. I'm going to speak to you too. Feel the feels. It's okay to not be okay. How many people, I'm going to put up this list right here. Take a look at those feelings. Raise your hand if you felt at least one of those through this process. And if you're not feeling that, you're lying, right? Right? How many people felt more than one of those? Awesome. You can see the first 4, anxiety, stress, anger, frustration, those are kind of negative feelings, right? I guess, well, society would call those negative feelings. And then the last 4 are kind of what comes after that. I actually looked at those top 4, and so those are positive feelings. Because if you're not feeling those, okay, the excitement, the joy, the growth, the empowering, those aren't as good as they feel unless you go through those bad ones. So I consider those positives. You have to feel that. Accept that not every day is going to be good. One of my worst ever days on the road, you're going to laugh like, oh, you're in the Keys. Yes, I was in the Florida Keys, which is a beautiful spot. But there was one night, it was 88 degrees, 2 a.m., and they had these little no-see-em bugs, right? And I had my screens down, fan wide open, there's no AC, and I just kept getting bit, and I was sweating. And I said to myself, this is one of those nights when someone told me, you're gonna have real shit days on the road. Okay, this was one of those days. It was one of those nights. And I got through that, and I felt that it's stress, and like, it's horrible. And yet, at 5:30, I woke up, finally, after 2 hours of sleep. I walked out, and I watched the most gorgeous sunrise. And I sat on this log in the Keys, crying, bawling, because I knew what I just went through, and I knew what just came because of it. Now that's obviously a metaphor, but you can see you have to go through those. So don't hide those. Don't pretend that you're not stressed. Don't pretend that you're not anxious, or pissed off, or angry. Feel those. Acknowledge that. Okay? Because then when you get to those other feelings, those excitement, joy, and growth, it makes it that much more better. Okay? Answer 2. Recognize and enjoy the simple things. Now, it's such a cliche, and a lot of my answers are cliches, but they're so true. The simple things in life are really what matters. It's the relationships of the people that you meet, right? It's the time spent with students. It's the time spent with athletes. I know when I'm coaching at Middlebury, and I drive 2 hours from Craftsbury, Vermont to Middlebury, Vermont, and I'm with my goalkeepers or with the team, I'm lost in that. That's my passion. And I get lost in it because that's a simple thing for me. Just being on the field with incredible human beings. So this also has to do with perspective. I just want you to read this for a second. My good friend Peter Kim shared this with me. Peter's the head coach at Middlebury College. I've known him for 20 years, coached with him, played with him. And we were sharing a session with our team. To be honest, it was all about entitlement, right? Middlebury is a very elite college, and I'm just going to throw it out there. And there's a lot of players, a lot of students that come from a lot of money. And we're talking about privilege. And what does it mean to be an athlete at Middlebury College? And what does that give to them? And there's a lot of entitlement there, right? So we talked about how instead of saying, oh, all these students are back online on the campus and I have to wait for 20 minutes to get lunch. No, you get to wait in line to have this incredible food. You have that opportunity. You all have this opportunity. You get to go through this process. There's no one else out there that goes through this process of creating VTSU. And you have that opportunity. So it's all about perspective. Watch this little thing. I learned this years ago. Everyone just put their pointer finger up like this. Okay, I want you to look at it, put it up as high as you can. Now I want you to put this and start turning it clockwise, please. Do it. Man, if I could take a picture of you all pointing at the sky. So good right now. Just like this, and slowly bring it down. Don't stop spinning. Don't stop spinning until it's below you. Now you're looking above it. And notice which direction it's going now. Now it's counterclockwise. It's all about changing your perspective. It's the same motion, it's the same thing, but change your perspective on how you're looking at it, right? Everyone's still doing it? Come here, what's your name? What's your name? Cameron, you're awesome. He's like, how did that happen? It's so good. I love it. I love it. He's going to take that home. Do you have kids at home?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. He's going to take that home and show them. This is one of those things where you get home and you go out have beers with your buddies, like, hey guys, check out this. Anyways, thanks for that. So I get to rather than I have to. Okay? There are times when the people, and I don't even like the word above, because it's a whole nother topic I can talk about, was instead of calling it a chain of command from president, sorry, Mike, from president down to teachers or even custodians. I've met the most incredible custodian from Castleton, Siobhan. Everyone say welcome to Siobhan. It's awesome, thank you. And I love that we have a custodian here. I call it, this is a total side tangent, instead of a chain of command, I call this a chain of support. I just change it on the axis, right? Where the frontline people, I'm sorry, Lori, I'm going off. But you have those teachers, you have the educators right here. They're the frontline people. They are working with students all the time, right? And yet they always say, oh, it starts at the top. No. Ultimately, this is the group of people that need the most support right here. The president, sorry, Mike, ultimately, if they've done their job all the way over here, it should never get to them. Because all the support is right here, right where it's needed. So that's a whole nother keynote I'll talk about in the chain of the chain of support. So for me, on the road, I had to change my perspective. Okay, I use this app called iOverlander. Anyone ever used it? Yes, you have the banners, right? Saved my life. Unbelievable times. And sometimes it was 9 o'clock at night and I had no idea where I was going to spend the night. But I did find one thing that was my safe haven, and it changed my perspective on this one institution all across the country. And I started looking for it because it was my safe place. I changed my perspective, and I looked for it because it was my safe place. Yeah. I swear to God, and I would look for it on the map because they cater to campers. And I was this little 18-foot van, and I would find that sign. I'd look at it. iOverlander is awesome. You plug it in, and it has all these dots about where you are, where you can stay, and then you copy the coordinates, put it into your maps, and it sends you there. And when you go down the road, down I-40, I did like the I-10 and I-40 in the south part, and when you see that sign way ahead, you're like, oh, it's so good. It feels comfort. And I would pull in, and it was awesome. And I'd have breakfast in the morning, coffee, nice clean bathroom to use because my van doesn't have a bathroom. But it was amazing. So I just changed my perspective and saying, this really crazy place that my parents used to take me to all the time, now this was home for me. This was a comfort for me. So I had to change my perspective on that. Answer 3, my absolute favorite. Anyone ever read Daniel Coyle, The Culture Code? Yes, coaches, thank you very much. That's awesome. Awesome. So Daniel Coyle, I hope to meet this guy one day. He wrote this book called The Culture Code, and he spent years researching the most successful cultures around the world. Google, the All Blacks, New Zealand All Blacks, and the San Antonio Spurs, fascinating, right, with Greg Popovich as the coach. And what were the similarities between all these successful organizations? And one of the organizations, this company, I can't remember the name, was out in California, but the president and CEO, the owner of this company, he created a different workplace so that he was creating collisions amongst his employees, right? Especially those new employees that just come and they're kind of lost. So he designed it, physically designed the shape and how the desks were set up so that people had to collide, right? And so I've taken this and it stuck with me the entire way. So on my trip, I was so stressed out about people that I had to see. And, I have I have friends and I have families. I visit a former goalkeeper of mine who lives out in Monterey Bay in California. So people I had to see. But ultimately, you know what? That was so stressful because I was buying a book. I just had to do this itinerary. I didn't want to do that. So when I threw that philosophy out of the way, I lived. I just lived on the road, and I said, I want to run into people. I want to collide with people. Now, we always say, oh, I'm going to cross life paths with someone. And sometimes, most of the times, it's inadvertently. How many people, and you don't have to raise your hand unless you can be truly vulnerable about it, walk down a sidewalk and they walk like this? Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And that's not easy to say, right? I'm the one, and you can probably see because I've already met some incredible people. And my sons, when we were sitting down like at a restaurant, they're like, Dad, stop flirting with the waitress. I said, I'm not flirting. I just love people. I want to meet more people. So I'm the one who's walking on the sidewalk says, hey, good morning. How's it going? I like your smile. Because those, you get that back, right? And so on my trip, I decided I'm going to collide with more people. Physically collide, meaning I'm going to actually go sit down next to someone, as uncomfortable as it was, put myself out of my comfort zone, even though I'm a people person. Believe it or not, I'm a true introvert. You're like, yeah, no way. I'm an introvert. I love my John time, okay? I'm an extrovert introvert because my job forces me to be outward and open. But so I was out of my comfort zone. So every person you collide with is another opportunity to grow and learn. Will you steer away or head straight on? So many people steer their vehicle themselves away from a potential collision with someone else, another human being. Today, we're going to purposefully make you collide with others from different campuses and learn about someone else. I've already met a few people here that I have connections with that I'm going to move on with after this and say, let's sit down and talk because we share common goals or common languages or common knowledge. So we're going to share things together because we collided. So I went through this, and the cool thing is when you when you start colliding with others, the greatest thing happens. You open yourself to other collisions, you know? When I collided with Sean, we were kind of forced to collide many years ago, but I'm here because of Sean on October 4th, 2023. But it goes way, way beyond that, okay? I'm gonna try not to cry with this one. How many people have a mentor in life? And if you don't find a mentor, find one. If you don't know how to find one, come find me, because I will help you, okay? There's a mentor in everyone's life, you just need to find them. They're there for you. I never heard the word about life collisions until I read the culture code. But as I look back, April 1994. I was a lifeguard at Johnson State College. It was the only non-work study job. Why I couldn't get work study, I didn't know. My parents didn't make any money. That's for you guys to figure that out. He's probably still going. But I was a lifeguard, and I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, 6:30 to 8, right? For a college student, rough. But I did. It was the only time I could make money, and I made $15 an hour, which is good money back then. And it provided a little support for me. This man, I was sitting in my chair, and this guy comes in, tall, lanky guy, bald head, and he jumps in the water, and I remember distinctly his swimming stroke. And he had the right arm, nice, beautiful stroke, and this left arm just went slop, splashed. And I watched him for a while. It's always old people there at 6 in the morning, right? And so it's oftentimes a struggle to stay awake because I didn't really have to save anyone. But so this man, after he finishes his laps, he comes and sits down next to me. And he shakes my hand and he says, "Hi, I'm Charlie." I say, "I'm John." And he asks me, doesn't say anything about who he is. He asked me about me. He collided with me that morning. And he said, I said, listen, I'm a physical education major. I just graduated. So I was graduating that spring. I'm also a physical education major. I play soccer here. And then he said, well, I'm a director of a summer camp in Craftsbury, Vermont, and I'm looking for a waterfront director. what are you doing this summer? I said, I guess I'm going to camp. I had no idea what to expect, right? And I went, at my time, it was my girlfriend who I married, and still best friends with now. I said to Krista, Krista, I just met this amazing man, and we were living together. What do you think about me going to camp? She says, go for it. So I stepped foot in Windridge Tennis Camp in Craftsbury Common for the first time, June of 1994, as a 21-year-old. I was older than most first-year counselors who were 18, 19 years old. And I was not a summer camp kid. I was a sports kid. I went to soccer camp, basketball camp. But Charlie had a way of connecting me and connecting others. He was a true connector. He was the one who was sitting down on the tennis courts when we were weeding courts and taking 10 minutes and sitting down and having a conversation with someone to learn about who they were. And then he'd get up, move to somebody else, and have a 10-minute conversation with them. And I didn't realize it at the time, but Charlie became my mentor. And I stayed with Windridge for the next 8 years. He was the guy, he was the director when my wife at the time went into labor with my first son, Eli, and I went and knocked on his window at his cabin and said, all I didn't have to say anything, I just knocked on the window, he said, good luck. He was the one who brought me to camp. And then camp sold about 10 years later after I left. I went back to teaching as my boys came into the world. I couldn't run the summer camp anymore, so I went back to teaching. I taught at Harvard Union High School and in North Harvard. Awesome. Girls soccer coach, 2010 state champions, thanks. And so I went back, and then I got the devastating news that Windridge had sold. And this was November, December of 2010. I'm going through my divorce. And I decided, I'm teaching full time, and I decided that when the new owners sought me out because they had heard about me, they said, John, we have this new camp, we've heard about you, what would you think about starting this new camp for us? And it's a dream as an educator to be given a 52-acre classroom with basically unlimited money. Okay, I won't tell you who my owners are, but they're the most unbelievable people. It's a nonprofit, and so I broke my teacher's contract. Everyone's like, what? You can't do that. I did, broke my teacher's contract. I met with the owners on a Wednesday of 2011. Wednesday night, I woke up the next morning to a job offer, and I remember we said, yes, I'll take it, and just looking at that return button, and I hit it, and then the next call was to Charlie, and said, Charlie, I'm going home. And I could, the tears, he was silent, I could hear the tears on the other side of the line. Charlie is an incredible, incredible mentor, and I'm here specifically, I'm standing in front of you today, holding this thing that I never knew how to hold before, because of this man right here. Because he collided with me that day, and now I'm here because I met Sean, right? Because I was at Hosmer Point, and I said, we need to have more than just a summer camp. We need to be an outreach. We want to bring others in and teach them about leadership and build community and build their culture. All because of this guy right here. And this is my last summer at camp. And he was the first person I called when I said, Charlie, I'm leaving. This was this summer. He came up my last full day at camp in August. That's our 1994 staff shirt. The only staff shirt I still have. He showed up at 7:15. We jumped in the water for polar bears. And what's interesting is that I'm the same age now that he was when he brought me to camp. He's 81 years old now, and just an incredible, incredible mentor. So he collided with me. Because of that life collision, I'm standing here in front of you, taking the journey and finding a way to find my next challenge. This is my favorite. One of my favorites. They're all my favorites. But answer 4, create and search for the feeling of home. How many people, I want you to think about this right now, when I say the word home, just throw it out there. What does that come to you? Throw out, this is popcorn style. Please don't raise your hand. Throw it out there, words. Cozy, what else? Families, my favorites. What else? What is it? Fireplace, awesome. It's that comfort, right, of a fireplace. What else? Dirt roads, awesome.
Warmth.
Warmth, what else?
Home cooking.
Safety. Who said safety? Rock on, yes. What is it?
Home cooking.
Home cooking, good.
Comfort.
Comfort.
Love.
Love. What is it?
Exhale.
Exhale.
Friend.
Friends.
Quiet.
Quiet. That, you know what was never said? A roof, a door, a driveway, 4 walls. None of that was ever said. Now, I was hoping that was going to be the case. Because it is not. Raise your hand if you agree with this. Yeah. And honestly, for me, like I said, when I get out of my van and I step foot on the field at Middlebury and I get my goalkeepers in front of me, I exhale. All is good right now. Right? For me, it's the top of the mountain with my dog, Kivu, and all is good. Or even more importantly, it's when I'm with my boys, because we're in different areas. They come home and we open that first beer together and we say, welcome home. Okay, that's my comfort. And it's when I want you to think about this. When do you feel like you belong? Like I said, Daniel Coyle in Culture Code talks so much about successful cultures is when there's a sense of belonging. Because when there's a sense of belonging, there is safety, comfort, and respect. And it's not easy, especially for a new employee or going through this change that you're going through. You lose that sense of belonging. It's easy to because you worry about so much about the change, the things that you have to do. But think about that feeling of being home. And can you create that sense for others? That sense of safety. At camp, at Hosmer Point, anytime someone comes to camp, we say, welcome home. For others, it's on a team, it could mean, well, for me, just giving someone a high five. It's complimenting someone on their smile, right? It's saying hello, introducing myself. I'm excited to see you. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. Those little moments that you can create a sense of belonging for others, make them feel safe. And when they feel safe, then they feel like they are part of something larger. Who's ever heard of the word Ubuntu? Yes, coaches again, I love it. I love it. Ubuntu, right? It's a phrase that means basically, I am because we are, right? That no one person, whether you're the president or a janitor, because you use the word janitor, not custodian, I appreciate that, thank you. Custodian, or a teacher, an educator, or a coach, no one person is more important than the other. And if you look at all of your employees across the VTSU, not one of you is more important than anybody else because you're all on the same journey, you're all on the same path, and you all have the same mission to create this incredible university for all of our students. So how do you create that sense of belonging? How many people, just raise your hand, have felt that sense of belonging, felt that sense of home somewhere? I would hope that everybody has found it somewhere, right? I took my trip as part of my experiment and yes, I have it as my tattoo on my ankle, to remind myself that I want to provide that for others, everyone that I'm with. Even if it's for 30 seconds, I want to create that sense of home for them. That like they belong where I am right now. And my experiment on the road was, can I feel at home everywhere, wherever I am? And honestly, I didn't. There's some difficult times. But there are other times where I knew exactly where I was. Watching the sunset in Sedona with my guitar was where I felt at home. I felt peace there. That was pretty special. So I want to think about, and we're gonna play later on today, and hopefully you're gonna find a sense of belonging there. Daniel Coyle again, he talks about this 3 parts of a successful culture. One is there's safety or a sense of belonging. 2 is a purpose, and your purpose is there. You all know what your purpose is here. And the last one is vulnerability. Because when we, as teachers, educators, leaders, aren't vulnerable, then it's impossible to have that other sense of belonging, right? So we need to show our vulnerability all the time. So there he is. This is Larry. Bring him back. I'm sorry, the picture isn't great. I met Larry, 88 years old in Morro Bay, California. Beautiful old little fishing village. Someone said, you have to go there, John. It's Morro Rock. It's a gorgeous little spot. So I parked my van and went for a walk. And I saw this old man with a fedora. You can see he's got a quilted jacket on and like a flannel. It was a little breezy out on the coast out there. It's just kind of between Santa Cruz and San Francisco. Larry's sitting on a bench. He's got a plastic bag, and he's got little breadcrumbs in it, and he's trying to feed the birds. These tiny little hopping birds around. And they have these crazy little black squirrels. And the black squirrels kept stealing. And I watched Larry for about 10 minutes from a distance. And again, at this point, I had made the decision that I was going to collide with as many people. And Larry was that collision that day. So I watched him, and then I went down and sat next to him. My first words to him were, "Damn squirrels." And he says, "Don't you know it?" And that was our first words together. And I collided with Larry. That's all it took. Larry went on to, I asked him about who he was. He had lived in the area. He had lost his wife many years ago. And he went on to tell me his life story. Now, I didn't think most collisions of mine were really quick. Like this wonderful couple I collided with in Hot Springs, Arkansas. They saw me playing the guitar, and they came over to me and collided, and they said, "Would you play for us?" Sure. I played for a half hour. We shared stories. Larry was not a half hour. It wasn't an hour. It was 2 hours. And I didn't get a word in. You see, I don't think anyone has ever stopped and spoken to Larry in all of his time there. Part of me was really sad about that, but part of me, no. Major part of me was grateful that I was the one who sat down and said, "Hi, Larry. Tell me about yourself." Larry went on to talk about how he grew up in the end of the Great Depression. And then went on to tell me about how his father was a baker in Miami, and how they had to move during World War II because of no money. So where did they move? They moved to the Keys, because that's where the naval bases were, and there was money, and there were soldiers there, and there were families there. That's where the money was. And his father set up a bakery down there. And he went on to tell me his entire life story. But the crazy thing is, and I don't know if you ever take the time to talk with people at that age, I don't know if you've ever done this, but Larry spoke to me in terms of presidencies. Okay? He talked about Eisenhower, and he talked about Nixon, and he talks about, he was definitely not a Democrat. He definitely talked about how screwed up the country was when Kennedy was in place, right? But that was his opinion, and he just went on. He kept saying, "Now, remind me, when were you born, John?" I said, 1972, Larry. "Oh, this is before you." And he'd go another time, "When were you born?" "Oh, this is before you." He talked to me about how he was a physician. He started all these amazing, he was hired around the country to start different wings, new programs, medical programs around the country. He talked about when he was in Cuba, just before the regime change. Within 24 hours, he found out about it and had to find a way to get off the island. Before that, he could go to and from, no problem. But he knew that if he didn't get out within 24 hours, he was never going to leave Cuba. And he got off the island and got back to the Keys at the time. And so I just sat and listened, and I tried not to. I was super hungry, and I was jonesing for a nice cold beer. And I kept looking at him. I said, "Larry, this has been unbelievable." And I almost, like, this whole time, I took pictures of people that I collided with along the way, and I wrote about them. One of my favorite things to do in my travels was my collisions. I'd tell someone, like the wonderful coffee group ladies in Las Cruces, New Mexico, whole nother story. I would tell them, I said, "You're going to make my journal tonight." That was my way of telling them what they meant to me, even if I never saw them again. Larry, I will never see again. Obviously does not email, probably doesn't even own a cell phone. He has no idea the impact that he's made on me. And he's one of the reasons why I'm standing here today. So at the end of the 2 hours, I said, "Larry, can I take a picture with you?" And his first words out of his mouth, sure, just don't test out the damn thing. And that was Larry. So I took a picture with him. This is the picture I took. More rockets behind us. And then I said to Larry, you lived an unbelievable life. And you have so many incredible experiences. I'm still learning. I said, you must have some kind of a lesson in life. Is there something you live by? And in his really soft voice, he says, John, just be. I said, what do you mean? He said, this. And when I asked him that, I said, describe, what does that mean? He said this. Profound. For an 88-year-old man, where you are in this moment is exactly where you're meant to be. No, I know, you sitting here right now are probably thinking about the tasks that you need to do when you get back to your office, or maybe it's getting to a sporting event, a kid's sporting event. And I get that. I know that this evening I'm going to stream my son's soccer game. My other son goes to UNE in Biddeford, Maine, and he has a soccer game tonight, so I'm going to stream that. I've thought about those. But so many times when you think about what else is out there, with everything you have to do, you lose the moment right now. When I sat down and met Maya and learned that she's at NVU Johnson, right? Or Johnson, thank you. And she told me about what she does. I was in that moment. I was entranced by the people that she works with. But I knew if I thought about anything else, I would lose a moment right there, right? So don't think about all the other stuff that you have to do, because when you lose the moment, you'll never get this moment back. And he said to me, we went on to talk about this, and he said, John, the greatest resource we have in life is time. It's the greatest resource. But guess what? It's also the resource we waste the most. Whether it's on our phone, whether it is complaining about a task that we have to do, right? Instead of just being in the moment and appreciating where we are. I have my players and I have my staff, even my campers, even the schools that come to camp every day, we do a pause. And even if it's for 60 seconds a day, is can you pause, ground yourself where you are, and truly appreciate it? Because you will never get that 60 seconds back again. That's gone. Now, he's had 88 years of those moments, and he's definitely lived those. That was his moment. That was his mantra. And I loved it so much, I actually put it on my arm to remind myself. And it's not easy to worry about bills to pay, and the jobs that I need to do, and the angry parents that I have to call because their child was bullied at camp, right? Those are the things that get in the way. And you have, I'm not saying don't deal with those, but don't forget about the here and now in the moment. And when we teach in the moment, when we lead in the moment, then we become a better, stronger culture. So as much as you want to think about what's ahead for VTSU, okay, and there's got to be an end goal, right? You will get there. Don't forget about here in the moment right now, because the tasks that you do in the moment right now will get you to that end goal. But you can't forget about what's going on now. So welcome home, and we're going to play today. So I've learned, and I love Lori already. I've just met her a couple times. She said, John, that word team building out there is like this big catchphrase. People don't like team building. Great, we're not going to do team building today. We're going to play, okay? And I also said that so many people, so many human beings are not playing enough. And play doesn't have to be on the soccer field or on the basketball court. Play could be one of my favorite games. How many cribbage players out there? Yes, one of my favorite games. I played with my dad as long as he possibly could, went through his journey through Alzheimer's, as long as he could, and that was the way we connected until he passed away. But playing for him was a way that we could connect through cribbage, right? And it could be anything. So we're going to play today. We're going to play a little bit in here. We're going to have lunch with an incredible Sean Williams and some trivia, and then afterwards we are going to compete. Okay? And I will tell you this, I don't care how many coaches, you will not find someone more competitive than I am. I don't get to compete today, I'm going to facilitate. So where is this brought back to me? So hopefully you can take these 5 answers, and I'd be happy to share this. Lori has these answers. Happy to share them with you. You are on a journey together, okay? It is not one person, is not the president, is not the new incoming president. It's everybody together, and hopefully today, by the end of today, everyone's going to have a different takeaway. Some of you may walk away and say, you know what? Maybe that wasn't for me, and that was completely okay. And none of us will take that personally. Hopefully, every one of you will say, I have met at least one other person that I'm going to stay connected with because we have like-minded or we have like ideas, and I'm going to move on that. So this has pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'll be brutally honest, this is my first keynote address ever. Okay? Part of my journey on my trip was, what's next? As I said, camp is done with me. So camp is done with me. I'm done with camp. They didn't fire me. I decided on my own. 13 years, I met the challenge. I built the camp. It's fully sustainable. I'm ready for my last challenge in my career, right? So I've gone out and I've started my own company where I am teaching others how to lead intentionally, in the moment, how to build successful culture, and looking at the core of one's culture and how do you create that sense of belonging. And I do it through play most of the time. So my website just went live yesterday, and I don't have a QR code up there. I'm not there yet. But I can tell you another life collision. A former camper of mine and counselor, she moved up through the ranks. When she learned that I was leaving camp, she called me right after our board meeting, and she said, John, what are you doing next? I said, this is what I want to do. I didn't have a name, a business name yet. She said, well, whenever you figure it out, whatever you want to do, I'm building your website. And so for the last week, I've been working with Emily, who lives in Vancouver now, and she built my website for me. And I am absolutely grateful for her, and I'm excited. I'm nervous as hell. I have no idea what's going to happen next. But you know what? I'm scared, I'm nervous, but I'm super excited. I'm going through all the feels that we learned about before. Anxious, nervous, frustrated at times. But when I just be in this moment, I know it's going to happen. And I'm really excited for what's next. So I'm excited for what's next for VTSU. I'm proud to be an alum of this. I am not leaving Vermont anytime soon. And I look forward to seeing what's next, and look forward to the rest of the day with you all. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.